All right. Hi there. This is Stephen with Karma Astrology. It is Saturday, April 24th, 2021, 11:10 a.m. here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. I was coming to you live to give this daily astrology forecast. And today it's a little interesting. The moon is kind of split here in the US. It's changing signs at around, or it's changing nakshatras, the Indian constellation or the Vedic constellation, at around 6 to 7 p.m. So I was kind of going to talk about both of the nakshatras that it's going to be in, and just in general the sign that it's going to be in more in particular, so that if you don't know, there's about two nakshatras and a little change of a third in each of the signs. So there's these three different energies that are kind of seen in any given sign. And because they take up about 13 degrees, well, they take up exactly 13 degrees and 20 minutes of each section of the sky, which makes up 27 nakshatras in total. So, excuse me, that being said, the moon right now, as you can see over here, is in the sign of Virgo. That MO is the moon. And you can see down below the moon, there's the VIR for Virgo, that box. And so the moon is at about almost 7 degrees right now in Virgo. And that UPH after the degrees, you can see, is Uttara Falguni. U is the Uttara and PH is Falguni. That means the later, Uttara means later, or second of fall means basically fruits, and Guni means merits or blessings. So it's the later of the blessed fruit, kind of showing that it's all about our deeds in the past that we've done and getting kind of the benefits of them, the blessings of those fruit as they come to fruition. So, but in general, this is right in the middle, or I guess this is the beginning part of Virgo, and then Hasta will be later in the day, and Hasta stands for the hand. Hasta means hand in Sanskrit, and so that shows a little bit of a different quality of energy than what we're going to experience for the next 6 or 7 hours. So in the meantime, they're both in the sign of Virgo. So the moon in Virgo, Virgo's this, it acts like this grounded, when the moon's in Virgo, we get grounded, we get a little more peaceful, we get a little more calm and centered and practical and pragmatic. Virgo is this internal feminine Mercury sign. So Mercury is the planet of the intellect or the thinking mind. And Virgo is this internal reflective side of the thinking mind, which is basically our sense of organization. It kind of taps into our detailed nature and really the ability to take what we've learned or studied or observed in our lives, kind of like a scientist does, that you make observations and then you categorize them and catalog them in your mind. And or on paper. Virgo has a lot to do with Excel and spreadsheets and those kind of functions. It has a lot to do with outlines, because when we use these structures and these kind of formations like outlines, it allows us to see kind of I guess the structure of whatever we are trying to learn about or organize. So in order to be organized, you need to have big file folders and little file folders, and on your computer or whatever if you're still doing paper filing these days. But in general, that's kind of the energy of the day, or the next couple of days. The last half of this day, or I guess the previous beginning of this day and into last night here in the United States, and into the next couple days here, we're going to be experiencing this Virgo energy. So that being said, it's a great time to get organized, to clean, and to do any sort of thing that kind of makes your mind more clear. It's a good time to go slower with your speech. Good lesson for me. It's Virgo in general. It's a fantastic time to just straighten up the house, straighten up your mind, maybe organize the things that feel like they're getting out of control, and maybe anything kind of having to do with that scientific aspect of studying things or learning about the nature of things through kind of repetitive observations and and the trends, that those observations create. So if you're into the stock market, you might be looking at the charts and doing technical analysis. Or if you are a lawyer, you're trying to outline your case very clearly and succinctly so that you can make your argument very clearly to whoever you need to, argue against. There's this kind of there's this very detail-oriented nature to Virgo. And so when the moon comes into Virgo, we get more sensitized and our feelings are more affected. Our basic psychology is more affected by these Virgo themes, the kind of energy of this section of the sky, Virgo. So I'll just show you right away. I'm going to show you a picture of what it looks like in the sky, because that's always fascinating. I think it's important to know, where to look and how beautiful it is to be able to recognize the patterns and the structures and the constellations of the sky. So here we are. And then I'm going to take this away so you can see more clearly. I'll go over here, and it always resets, so I'll bring it back to where it was. This is last night for us in the United States, but of course, it's if you're in the Eastern world right now, it's probably dark, and you can see this in the sky currently. So if you see here, this kind of section of the sky is the very tail of Leo Nebula over here. There's the moon, and I'll zoom out a little bit. The orange line is the path of the moon and the planets from our observations here, or from our frame of reference, as we say, or reference frame here on Earth. And then you can see Virgo is this constellation over here with the super bright star Spica. Spica is a very special star in the sky. It actually, marks the midpoint in the zodiac. So it's exactly opposite 0 degrees Aries. It is right on the border. I'm sorry that this is kind of switching around all weird on me, but I'm trying to get it to come over here. Oh, doesn't seem to want to do it, but that's okay. Whatever the case, you can see these planets and how the moon is kind of going from Leo into Virgo. There's Libra over there and Scorpio beyond that, and Sagittarius, as the moon kind of travels and the planets travel across this section of the sky. So let me go back to the other page now, so you can see the chart again. And I'll talk a little bit about the nakshatra, or the Indian constellation, where the moon is right now, one of those 27 constellations. Like I said before, that is in Uttara Phalguni, that UPH down there. And Uttara Phalguni is basically associated with partnership, with any sort of, whether that could be sexual or business, friendships. It's very much a social nakshatra. So it brings out our ability to kind of balance our needs and other people's needs. It's a really nice time for your relationships in general. You might be getting along with your partner a little bit better. It's a great time to clean the house, organize things, do stuff, maybe organize aspects of your relationship and your friendships, and in a way that kind of makes everything make more sense. Virgo's all about making sense of things, so keep in mind it's a very pragmatic and practical sign. It's an earth sign. But Uttara Phalguni is definitely about enjoying ourselves through those practices. Now we have to be careful about what relationships we're building and connecting with. There's a tendency, I guess there's not much discernment about who we should be hanging out with. We just want to kind of get along with other people in general when the moon is in Uttara Phalguni. So it's good that we focus on, relationships that are productive and helpful to us and other people in our evolution and our spiritual development. And then when the moon moves into Hasta, I'm going to go over here and kind of bring out this changing time tool. So you can see over here now. And then I'm going to just bring it a couple hours down. You can see the ascendant moving down into Leo, and now the moon has moved into Hasta at about 5 p.m. here in Mountain Time, USA. That's 7 p.m. on the east coast of the US, and you can calculate that wherever from wherever you are in the world. I think that's 5 degrees behind England. And you probably know Eastern Time because the world is so American-centric in a lot of ways, even though it isn't necessarily. But Hasta, when the moon comes into Hasta, we get much more into the nitty-gritty details of life. We think, just as Hasta is the hand is the most dexterous part of the body. So it gives us a lot of different movements and functions and symbols we can create with our hand, and all sorts of different ways we can pick up objects or write or type. There's a lot of ways that we can communicate, right, with our hands. And so Hasta kind of relates to the ability to get really detailed. And the part of Virgo that's right in the meat of it all. It's all about, getting into the details, looking through the weeds, and refining a lot of things. So you might find yourself kind of getting into a state of paralysis by analysis in Hasta as the moon moves into there later in the day. And when you're watching this, it might be in there now. So pay attention to see if you're getting too caught up in the details, and how maybe a broader perspective that's going to come at the end of Hasta. But this broader perspective can be very, very helpful for us in order to not get too lost or paralyzed by figuring out which decision to make, and being uncertain, because we can see the benefits of each thing, and we can really look into and research and dive down. That's what Hasta is all about, is this deep research and the ability to think like a scientist and make all those keen, little, tiny, minute observations that show us the trends of our life. So you might be noticing, like, oh, in my relationship, when I act this way, that's the effect on my relationship. And I'm much more aware of the consequences of those actions, or what ways I act and how that kind of influences the world around me, or vice versa. How your moods shift, especially with the moon. Maybe something's happening in your relationships. Maybe it could be happening in any part of your life, because you have your own ascendant and your own personal birth chart and karma to deal with. So depending on where Virgo is in your life, it's going to show an attention to detail and focus. And so it's definitely a time to pay attention to those details, but not get lost in them. All right, I think that's going to do it for the day. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and please subscribe if you want to see more of these daily updates. I hope that you got a lot of value out of this, and that you can use this to your advantage and not get too lost in the details, but get really excited about it. It's kind of an interesting day. Put on your lab coat and your glasses and whatever you need to do to whip out the microscope and kind of enjoy the fact that we're all a little more tuned into our inner sense of science and our inner ability to observe and kind of record and modify all of our behaviors and actions in a way that is useful. So other than that, I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace and love, and I will see you next time.